Alrighty, welcome ladies and gentlemen. At this time, I'm delighted to welcome our next presenter to the stage. Trung Pham is the founder and CEO of RYSE, an IoT clean tech startup that creates smart device to motorized window shades. Mr. Trung has a background in finance, completing all three levels of the Chartered Financial Analyst (CRA) exams, and graduating with a Bachelor's of Business Administration from the Schulich School of Business. Trung, it's a pleasure to welcome you. The stage is yours when you're ready.
Thanks, Jordan. Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today on our live presentation. Again, my name is Trung Pham. I'm the founder and CEO of RYSE. We're a technology startup creating connected devices for homes and commercial buildings. So first I want to ask if anyone in here has a smart home device at home, whether it's a Nest thermostat, a Ring doorbell, or a smart speaker like Google Home, Amazon Alexa. Go ahead and just comment in the chat box and list out all the gadgets you might have in your home. And just to follow up with that, if anyone in here has window blinds or shades at home that they open or close with a string or a beaded chain, just type out yes in the chat box here as well. So have you ever thought about being able to automate those very window shades with your smartphone or your voice? Just imagine coming home from a long 18-hole game at the golf course and saying, hey Alexa, open my window shades, and have your shades magically open. Well now, with our patented devices, the RYSE Smart Shades, you can. Let's take a look here.
The future of your home is here. Invest in RYSE today, a technology startup with patented devices that can motorize and automate your existing window shades. Be a part of the $158 billion smart home market today, with the smart shades category expected to grow 55% year over year until 2024, with over 25,000 devices shipped and over $4 million in online sales. RYSE is positioned to be the leader in smart shades. Visit helloryse.com to learn more.
All right. So today you're going to learn about why our company is that one investment opportunity that you should seriously consider for your portfolio. And we're going to go over three main topics and reasons to invest. Anytime you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat, and my investor relations team members will respond in real time. And at the end of the presentation, I'll be hosting a Q&A on Zoom for anyone that has questions one-on-one. So first, we're going to go over the problem that we see in the market today and how our unique technology is the perfect solution. Then we're going to explore how big this opportunity really is. I'm going to cover the explosive growth in PropTech or properties technologies, starting first with the smart home, then moving into smart and sustainable buildings and how we fit in. And then three, I'm going to go over our traction and accomplishments to date and our plans for future growth. So let's get started. So first, let's go over our technology and what problems we solve. Let me start off with sharing my story of how I actually came up with the idea for RYSE. So back in 2015, I was moving into an apartment in downtown Toronto and really trying to budget for a new TV, bed, sofa, whatnot. And I really wanted to get automated shades. But when I went to the dealer and got quoted, I was really shocked at the price. They wanted to charge me about $1,000 per window for automated shades. And I had 4 large floor-to-ceiling windows, so I simply couldn't afford that. I opted in for manual roller shades with beaded chains for about $250 a pop. And this leads to the first problem that I saw in the industry. It's extremely expensive to buy automated and smart shades today. It's typically reserved for luxury homes and AAA commercial office. Now, a couple months later, when the summer came around and I was really feeling the heat from the blistering sunlight, I had some money saved up, so I went back to the same dealer and I asked him, hey, could I motorize the shades I bought from you a couple months ago? But to my surprise, the dealer told me that once I installed manual shades, I could never motorize them again, and I had to replace them with brand new motorized shades. Since I just bought them a few months ago, I couldn't justify throwing them out. And this leads to the second problem. There are no retrofit solutions. So then I asked the dealer, hey, isn't there like a simple motor I could just install on the window frame and control the chains or cords to automate it? And they told me this type of device doesn't exist. I actually didn't believe them at first, so I went home, Googled it, and sure enough, it didn't exist. And this kind of led to the third problem here, that there were no DIY devices or solutions in the market. Everything had to be purchased through a dealer, and you typically have to hire a professional to do the install job, which adds another cost. And this was really my eureka moment. This is why we started RYSE. And we wanted to create a suite of devices that solves these three main problems in the smart window covering industry today. So our flagship product, the RYSE Smart Shades, is a DIY device that is super easy to install. All you have to do is install a bracket on the window frame, loop the beaded chain or cord through the device, and mount the device on the bracket. All of this will literally take 2 minutes. You can even upgrade to our removable and rechargeable battery pack that will last 9 months on a single charge. And with our battery pack, you get a clean, slick look without any wires. And once installed, you could use our mobile app for control, where you could even set schedules and routines. For example, you could have RYSE open when the sun rises to help you wake up to natural sunlight, and close at sunset to give you the extra privacy. And of course, you could integrate RYSE with leading smart home and building automation platforms, including Google Home, Amazon Alexa, and Apple HomeKit. And you'll still be able to control your shades up close with the press of a button. This is perfect for your guests to use. So we make money by selling high margin devices and accessories, with our main smart shade device going for $149, and the battery pack and smart bridge, which gives you the smart home integrations, going for $49 each. But we're also launching an annual service contract model specific to commercial real estate. And this is where we plan on charging for premium support, maintenance, and provide an annual battery replacement plan. Now, I asked earlier, how many of you have a smart home device? And the responses have been well done. It looks like almost everyone here has maybe 1 or 2 devices in their home, but how hot is this industry? Sundale Research has mentioned that there are over 550 manual shades installed in residential homes that have the potential to be motorized. Today, our products can be installed in about 1/3 of these window shades, and at a price point of $149. This gives us a total addressable market of a whopping $27 billion that we can sell into. And this is because being an affordable retrofit gives us the ability to really target those homes that our competitors can't. Now let's look at the projection for the growth in the smart home industry by Frost & Sullivan, a huge and reputable market research company. The smart home industry is expected to grow at an impressive compound annual growth rate of 7.5%, growing from $158 billion back in 2018 all the way to $262 billion by 2025. Now, what's more impressive is the fact that this growth rate is actually increasing. You can see that it was growing at 6.4% back in 2019, but is expected to rise to 8.8% by 2025. So here you have a fast-growing industry with a growth rate that is also accelerating, meaning there's still a large market potential here to develop. But what's driving demand for smart home devices today? Frost & Sullivan also identified the key drivers for growth. First and foremost, consumers want products that will result in a greater level of safety, comfort, and convenience. This is where smart security systems, doorbells, thermostats, and smart shades come in. 2, it's becoming the norm for smart home products to be pre-installed in new homes by real estate developers and builders. They're putting in these products as a way to sell the idea of a smart home to new home buyers. And 3, integrations. Consumers want all their devices to play nicely with each other, to talk to each other, to work together, specifically integrating with Apple HomeKit, Google Home, Amazon Alexa. In fact, over 1/3 of US households have a smart speaker, and this figure is only going to continue to grow. And last but not least, energy savings. Consumers want to have products that would reduce their energy bills. And this actually leads to our next market that we plan on entering, which is sustainable buildings. So sometimes you could take that same technology you developed for the smart home and apply it to smart buildings to make them more sustainable. The sustainable buildings market is even larger. There are over 780,000 commercial buildings with building automation systems. Think of them as the central brains or controller for the building's heating, cooling, and other systems. Of these buildings, 220,000 have built-in lighting automation. If we were able to deploy our technology in these buildings alone, this would represent a $35 billion opportunity for us. But what do I mean by sustainable? All I mean is energy savings. More and more governments at a regional and national level around the world are enacting green legislation, like the Green New Deal, pushing for countries to be net zero by 2050. This basically means that every ounce of energy you consume, you must produce. And there are interim targets already kicking in by 2024. Now, one of the most largest emitters of CO2 are actually buildings. They're responsible for about 40% of all energy consumed in the US. So states like New York enacted Local Law 97, a regulation that requires buildings over 25,000 square feet to have a cap of energy they could use. And if they use more than allocated, they get hit with some major fines. How big are these fines? Well, this recent article was done by Fifth Wall, where they outlined that over 10 billion in annual fines can be expected to hand out to New York City landlords who do nothing to improve the energy efficiency of their buildings. But retrofitting these buildings to meet local law 97 will only cost $1 billion annually. So you might ask, well, how does this relate to RYSE and what we're doing with smart shades? And believe it or not, if you automate your window shades, you can save an insane amount of energy. And there's two ways we achieve this. One is known as solar heat gain management. This is where shades are automatically lowered to block direct sunlight during hot, sunny weather, reducing indoor cooling. For example, in commercial office buildings, shades should not be opened during the weekends if tenants are typically not in the office. Otherwise, the HVAC is cooling an empty space, and that's just wasted energy. So by blocking solar heat gain, a building can save up to 20% from cooling energy. On the flip side, during bright and overcast weather, shades should automatically open so the room can use natural daylight rather than artificial lighting. This is known as daylight harvesting and can save upwards of 74% in lighting energy. So let's take a look at a few case studies here. The New York Times buildings implemented automated shades, and they were able to save 43% in lighting energy and 23% in cooling energy, which is quite remarkable. Here's another case study. This is the Chorus building in Toronto. They implemented smart shades that led to a 24% reduction in lighting energy and a 25% reduction in cooling energy. So as you can see, these are proven results of commercial buildings implementing automated shades to save a massive amount of energy and expenses. Now, we all know that the market opportunity for smart shades and the sustainable benefits of commercial buildings, but let's take a look at the projected growth for the smart shades category itself. As you can see here, the growth projections provided by Infinity Research, the smart shades category is still in its infancy, a mere $162 million market back in 2019. But by the time 2025 comes around, it's projected to be a $1.4 billion market. That's an incredible growth rate of over 55% compounded annually. Not only that, we see that 90% of products sold in this category will be retrofits and replacements rather than new installations, right up our alley. This means the smart shades category alone will grow more than 6 times the rate of the smart home market expected to grow. And that's just insane. Now, to dominate this industry, we can't be just a one product company. Our vision is to be that one brand associated with smart window coverings. So anytime anyone thinks of how do I motorize my blinds or shades, we want them to think of RYSE. So we have a product roadmap that will launch additional devices in this space. We're currently developing a retrofit solution for drapes and curtains that will launch later this year, followed by a device to tilt blinds, and finally a solution for cordless shades where today you would lift to open and pull down to close. Now that you understand our unique technology and the enormous markets we play in, let's go over our traction to date and our plans for growth. To understand where our growth will come from, it's necessary to understand the distribution channels that will lead to these largest revenues. So first, I want to go over our growth projections and what we expect to drive our growth. Last year, we pulled in $1.1 million in revenue, all online. And this year, we project to pull in $1.4 million in revenue, again, all online. To date, we've generated $4.5 million in lifetime revenues, and 99% of that has been online direct-to-consumer sales. And the first thing I want to point out is that according to Infinity Research, online only represents 7% of the market for smart shades revenues. So this should get you extremely excited. This means that we're just scratching the surface of our sales. Physical retail is responsible for 33% of market revenues. So it's a vital channel for us for growth. And by next year, 2022, we project to generate $6.4 million in sales as we expand into this very channel. But the largest channel of revenues for us is the wholesale and B2B sales channels to large real estate developers and landlords, which account for 60% of industry revenues. We'll begin aggressively scaling to this channel by 2023, where we project to see a huge jump in revenues to north of 37 million. And we've already begun working on tapping into these larger channels of growth. So let's take a look here. Here's one of our agreements with Home Depot. The bottom half is blurred due to confidentiality, but we expect to start first with online sales with them before moving into physical retail. And not only do we have Home Depot in the pipeline for retail, we also have over 700 window blind dealers and system integrators signed up to be resellers. We also have active conversations with Best Buy and are targeting Costco for future retail growth. Now, our pipeline of B2B commercial customers is also strong. This includes the Annex Hotel, who is opening up 5 new locations in the coming years, Quadreal, a $44 billion landlord and developer of both residential and commercial buildings, and Ergo Properties, who owns office space, co-working spaces, and retail across North America and Europe. In fact, our expansion into this market is being supported by a $4 million Canadian clean tech grant awarded to us to develop our technology for commercial buildings due to the energy savings benefits. And this gives you a very, very strong idea of the jumping point that we have into commercial B2B. Now, I want to share a quick clip of Ergo Properties sharing what they're most excited about here at RYSE.
We're constantly looking for ways to improve our buildings by morphing them into spaces that our companies truly love to experience. By allowing us to convert our normal window shades into automated ones, we can do just that with RYSE. Features like scheduling, on-device controls, and integration with building automation systems allows us to modernize our spaces in a way that both our companies and our tenants will love. RYSE will help us in our goal to breathe new life into our buildings and its communities.
Great. So not only do we have a strong pipeline of B2B customers in retail, we've already closed some active B2B sales. This includes Alouette restaurant seen here. It's ranked Canada's best restaurant. And the luxury apartment, The Avery, a project led by Related, the largest US-ly private held developer. The building needed to motorize window shades and be installed in about 100 windows for ADA compliance, the Americans with Disabilities Act. And this is because the city wouldn't allow tenants to move in until this compliance was met. Now, we got the job done for less than a quarter of the price of traditional motorized shades and within 3 days rather than 6 weeks that the others were quoting them. And here's a video of the install job we actually did. Great. So next, I want to share a photo of our award that we received at CES. This is the Mark of Excellence Award by the Consumer Technology Association for Motorized Product of the Year. This was for our first generation device back in 2017 that really introduced the concept of retrofit shade automation to the world. And next, our patents. We have 4 fully issued patents and 3 pending, filed in Canada, US, EU, and China. And our patent, and having patents is great, but having an Amazon court judgment victory is even better. So this is a screenshot of an email we have with Amazon's patent team. And here we were awarded an Amazon court judgment victory where we filed against a bunch of knockoffs that went on sale on their websites. And the beautiful thing about this process is that we're able to immediately remove any knockoffs and patent infringers from selling on Amazon once we discover them. This is extremely important, as we all know that distribution is defensibility. You can have a cheaper product, but if you can't get distribution, you won't get customers. So in this case, we'll be able to dominate distribution into our sales channels by enforcing our patents and preventing any direct competitors. Now, we also pitched on Dragon's Den, which is the Canadian version of Shark Tank. This was, again, for our first gen device called Access. And I welcome you to watch it on Netflix, season 13, episode 6. But just to spoil it, here's the ending of the episode.
Okay, so I'm gonna make you an offer.
I'll have my District Ventures Capital Fund, which is a VC fund, invest in you for $400,000 for 3%. And when you do your Series A, we'll be there. So I've invested lots of tech companies. We also have digital expertise. We also have marketing expertise. So that's my offer.
Okay.
So Trung, I'll make you an offer. I think this is cool. No one else has invented a blind retrofit before. I think your valuation is fair. I think it would be hard for us to come in at a different valuation. So I'll give you the 400K for 3.5%, but I actually want to see if Lane will come in on this deal with me, because you're going to need a lot more capital to continue to scale this.
Yes.
Well, yeah, no, beyond the capital piece, when you start talking about commercial opportunity, building a recurring revenue model, like those are things that are obviously in the wheelhouse as well. No, I'd definitely go in on this deal with you for sure.
Perfect. So speaking about our investors, we've raised 3.5 million to date from some great accredited investors, angels, and VCs. And for a hardware company to accomplish what we have with such little funding, it really shows you our hustle here. Now, I do want to highlight some of our key investors. XOIO is a fund founded by Sean Daughtry. You may know her and her company called Mophie. They invented the first iPhone battery case. And Mophie was acquired by Zeg for over $100 million. So she's one of our investors and sits on our board of advisors as well. And I bring this up because it really shows the caliber and experience of our investors and advisory board, particularly with creating physical products and supporting us with contacts and introductions to key retailers and distribution partners. And here's one of our other great investors, the Supporters Funds, speaking on their investment in RYSE.
I think the big opportunity with RYSE really drives down to the market opportunity. So they really understand this space, and that's going to allow them to win and allow them to attract a really good suitor. I really believe that this market is going to grow significantly as the rest of the world starts to look into more around home automation. Think of that time when you wake up and your blinds start to rise and you didn't have to do anything. This is where home automation is going, and what RYSE is going to do to blinds is what ecobee did to the thermostat.
So let's go over the people on our leadership team. We actually have a team of 17 full-time members. I myself am responsible for strategy and fundraising. I have a background in finance, having completed all 3 levels of the CFA within 18 months. I also started a software company prior to starting RYSE that focused on event ticketing and management for local businesses. We ended up merging with a mobile-first player when the iPhone came out. Manu is our COO. He worked in investment banking at Citigroup in New York City and private equity with Payne & Partners in Chicago. Manu oversees our operations, logistics, and sales efforts. We have Mark Bashara, our genius CTO, responsible for overseeing all hardware and software development and engineering. He has a mechatronics background and has tremendous experience working in startups in the engineer capacity. And Alan Chang, he's our Swiss Army knife. I say that because he was formerly a mechatronics engineer who moved into industrial design. He's currently our chief design officer who also leads our product team. He's responsible for developing new products that we expect to launch in the coming years. And then we have Louis, who leads our manufacturing in China. He works closely to ensure everything we make is prototyped, tested, and manufacturable, and then oversees our actual factories in China. So as you can see, we have a fantastic leadership team here that you could trust to move the company forward. So this leads us to our current funding round. We're raising $15 million via a Regulation A+ SEC qualified round. And this is open to both accredited and retail investors. The use of funds will be primarily used for 3 buckets. 1, creating and launching new products. This includes everything from additional engineers, R&D costs, prototyping, testing, and production. 2, making large investments into inventory, since our retail partners will require payment terms, which essentially means we have to fund this inventory. And 3, growing our B2B sales and marketing teams so we can really focus on selling wholesale to these large real estate developers and landlords. And you can learn more about this opportunity via our website at invest.helloryse.com. So what's our exit strategy? How are we going to make money for our investors? And we're building our company to be an attractive acquisition target that could have the potential to be acquired. Now, the growth in the smart home market has already led to a significant amount of acquisitions led by some of our own ideal acquirers. I'm going to run through a few examples here. Somfy, a motorized shading company that is publicly traded. They have a 5 billion euro market cap and generates over $1 billion in annual revenues. And they invented motorized shades. They acquired MyFox to expand into the smart home space. And looking at their revenues, it really shows you how big of the market the smart shades category is. We have Legrand, a $20 billion publicly traded company in the smart building hardware space. They acquired Netanmo back in 2018, who makes everything from cameras to air quality sensors and more. Google bought Nest, the smart thermostat company, for $3.2 billion, and more recently invested $560 million into ADT for 6.6% of the company. And Amazon, they bought Ring, the video doorbell company, for $1.2 billion. So these 4 players, we believe, will be ideal acquirers for us as a startup. Thanks, everyone. That wraps up the end of my presentation with a few more quotes from some of our investors. Again, I'd like to invite everyone to join us for a live Q&A on a different Zoom link right after this presentation to learn how you can invest. All you have to do is refresh your page and the link should show up.
Hey, Trung, excellent presentation. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, perfect.
Excellent. So our first question is, how were you able to secure the clean tech grant, and what is that essentially allowed RYSE to do in terms of market penetration in the commercial space?
Yeah, so the clean tech grant is $4 million over 3 years. It started at $3.6 million, and then when COVID hit, the Canadian government extended another 10% of the grant funding to us. But essentially, what it allows us to do is develop the second-gen device, which is what you see here, and design it for commercial buildings, because commercial buildings have different requirements. They need BAS integrations. They don't want any wires, and that's where the battery pack came in. They want something that is faster, stronger, quieter. They may want an integration with Slack, things like that. So we had to develop that. And the government gave us $4 million with the 3 pilot partners, the Annex Hotel, Quadreal, and Ergo, contributing and buying the product and signing on a contract saying that they would buy the product and deploy it in their buildings. And essentially, we work with them to oversee the entire requirements and actually test the devices in their buildings. So that's the point of the pilot. And it's really driven by politics. It's really driven by the Green New Deal and the idea that a lot of these commercial buildings have to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So the fund itself, you could kind of Google this. It's sdtc.ca, Sustainable Development Technology Canada. And they basically hand out grants and funding to a lot of clean tech companies that can pilot new technologies to improve energy savings.
Excellent, thank you. Our next question is, do you need to be an accredited investor to invest in RYSE?
No, you don't. So because it's a regulation A+, if you're a retail investor, there is a limit on how much you can invest. I believe it's 10% of your annual income or net worth, whatever is the greatest, into any one deal. And the beautiful thing is that you could invest directly on our website.
Excellent, thank you. Our next question, what is the battery life of the Smart Shade product?
It's 9 months on a single charge under regular use. So if you use it more than twice a day, then obviously the battery is going to drain. But we like to say budget 6 to 9 months on a single charge, and you could just replace it, plug it into a USB, and recharge it overnight, and attach it again, or just buy a backup battery.
Thank you very much. And our next question is, you talked a little bit about the energy efficiency in the commercial side. Can you elaborate a bit about some of the new regulations, again, on that's coming out across the US that's requiring a lot of these different builders to have this, or at least consider this type of product for their development?
Yeah, so the 2 regulations that we heavily focus on, the Green New Deal is more country by country. So countries are adopting the Green New Deal. And it's essentially where countries around the world are setting specific limits to become net zero by 2050. And there are interim targets that begin in 2024 to reduce CO2 emissions. And this is among all industries in the world. Commercial buildings is just one subsection of that. Local Law 97 is very specific to commercial buildings over 25,000 square feet. And Local Law 97 relates to New York State. And if you Google it, there's a lot of articles on it. But essentially, the idea is that all buildings have to be net zero by 2050. All new builds have to be net zero by 2030. So if you're submitting a new construction project after 2030, it must be net zero. It must be built in with technology that is net zero. And they have to provide kind of energy models to prove this. What we're doing is that we want to go over the retrofit market, because obviously there's existing buildings that need to be retrofitted to get to net zero. And our solution is already proven to save energy. A lot of case studies done, the New York Times building. You could kind of just Google the benefits of automated shades there. But those regulations are really pushing new technologies to be adopted in commercial buildings to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and CO2.
Excellent, excellent. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have for today. I want to thank Trung for joining us here at the Money Show. It's an absolute pleasure to have you join us. There is details about the investment opportunity. If you scroll down into the RYSE virtual booth, you can download the prospectus or click off to any of the banners to go right to the RYSE website to learn more about the investment opportunity. Trung will be sticking around if you refresh your page in the chat, as well as there's a Zoom link in his virtual booth where you can connect with him one-on-one and ask questions if you would like. Thanks so much, Trung, for joining us today. It's been a great presentation.
Thanks, guys. Take care.